Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel again. So great to see you all again today. My name is Jasmine for anyone that's new, and basically my whole YouTube channel is all just about making psychological services accessible to everyone, and that's basically what I aim to do with my channel. Not everyone can afford to see a therapist, not everyone has the money or the will or the inclination, so that's why I thought a quick YouTube video would be beneficial, accessible, and it could even kickstart something much bigger for you, so fingers crossed. I also offer online support and it's all anonymous, confidential. The link is in the bio. So I was thinking I might try something new with the channel, and I was considering how we all have to work and we all want good career advice, and how beneficial it might be to tie in psychological knowledge with sound career advice, ultimately provide a career analysis allowing some kind of career guidance based on sound psychological science. So how it's going to work is I will pick a career just to begin with, and then hopefully you guys will just tell me what career you want me to analyze and provide a psychological profile for, and then I will research it through speaking to someone within that field so we can get an in-depth behind the scenes look at what the job is really like, including the actual daily operations and activities involved with the job. I will provide a personality profile on who will succeed in this career and who wouldn't. So that's really important. So if you have a really sound understanding of what your personality traits are, you might be able to use this type of information, this type of video, to steer you away from a job that you might suffer in. And lastly, I was thinking it would be really handy to give the public practical tips on how to deal with this type of person. So for example, if today I was talking about a doctor, I would give people, general public, tips on how to get the best out of their doctor, get the best out of their mortgage broker, get the best out of their retail worker, whatever it might be. So the first one today is a call center worker. And before you go, stop video, I don't want to be a call center worker, this doesn't apply to me, and I don't blame you because I've been a call center worker and it is awful. I found it pretty bad. There are some people that obviously would enjoy that type of work. It clearly was not suited to my personality. But don't skip this video, because I can guarantee that you may go the rest of your life without speaking to a teacher, without speaking to a doctor if you're lucky enough, without maybe speaking to a nutritionist, but you will never be able to escape speaking to a call center worker. We all have phones that require talking to Telstra or whoever it is that you're with. We all have to speak to call center operators at least a few times a year for the rest of our lives. And I can tell you personally, from my experience as a call center worker, there are definitely tips and tricks on how to get the most out of them, and you can actually get so much value out of a good call center worker, and on the other hand, you can just get the worst experience with a poor one. So hopefully this video can show you how to get the most out of them when you have to deal with them. And also, like, you don't know what life is going to throw at you. There may be a time when you will need to work in the field of being a call center operator. Maybe in your retirement, as in your retirement, you just don't know what life is going to throw your way. Plus, it's really interesting to know the ins and outs of other roles, particularly call center workers, because it's a really tough job. They are at risk of so many occupational hazards, mental, physical, and psychosocial. It's something that we, interestingly, all have to deal with throughout our lives, and we just don't realize what's going on the other end of the phone. So hopefully this will share some insight into what I think is a really awful place to work. Like, I'm talking like not even allowed to go to the bathroom, really. Like, I'll get more into details. So As I said, like, I will interview other people to get insight into the role, but this time I'm your insight. I've spent, I think, 6 years working in a call center, just part-time mostly. It was whilst I was studying for psychology, and the reason for me to work in that role was very specific. I wanted to get a role that was reasonably well paying for somebody that could only work 2 days a week, and was pretty low stress, but it didn't turn out to be low stress, but very low commitment. Like, I literally would finish my shift and I would not think about that job until I started again the next day. Whereas in my marketing career, because you're involved in such valuable and rewarding projects, you're just always thinking of the job. So this was a job that when I was there, I was doing the job and then I could switch off and focus on my study. And it was also a job that would never tear me away from my study. I would never be enticed to be a call center worker and quit studying and quit my dream for it. Whereas if I had been in a rewarding job, like a job I found rewarding, like maybe in marketing or something like that, then I might have quit study. So I had to be really careful there. So again, like, you might find yourself in a similar situation, but that was my path. We're all different. And there are some call center operators who love their job and get a lot out of it. I just definitely wasn't one of them. And I'll just also explain a lot of the occupational hazards that are associated with call center workers, whether you love your job or not. So firstly, a high proportion of workers are going to experience sleep disturbances, particularly those that have to work the night shifts. I never had to, but some call center roles do require you to work night shifts. So you could get some disturbance to your circadian rhythm, which is your adjustment to day and to night, because whilst you're supposed to be asleep, you're awake, and vice versa. And that can mess with you mentally, physically. It can give you anxiety, it can cause insomnia as well. So sleep disturbances is a problem. And it can also be a problem just for the day workers, because sometimes the job can be that stressful that it does keep you up at night. Now, because you're sitting at a desk all day, you can have musculoskeletal disorders and problems. You can have obesity, eye problems as well, because you're literally like this close to a computer screen like all day. Hearing problems, because that has to be quite loud, the voice coming through, because you're working within a confinement of, I would say, within 4 square meters, there would be 3 people confined to 4 square meters, sometimes more. And they're talking using full volume to customers, and then you're also talking, so you have to deal with that noise, somehow block it out, and sometimes the only way to do that is to turn the headset up really loud. So you can have a lot of hearing problems later on in life because of that. And also, like, because of COVID now, and I don't know if this will be forever, but fortunately we now have adequate spacing between workers. So I don't think that having a setup like battery hens is going to be allowable, at least for the short-term future, and fingers crossed long term. Now, psychosocial problems would be disruptance to your family life, and also the prevalence of alcohol use and tobacco use. Now, when I think about my life, there is one person I can think of in my social work sphere who smokes, and actually 2, my father as well, unfortunately, nearly forgot. But within my work sphere, when I worked at a call center, at least a third to more smoke. And I honestly believe it's just because of the high anxiety of the job. And why is it that it's just, there is so much anxiety involved in that role? I can't explain how bad it is, because what you're dealing with is you're in fight or flight, because people like to abuse call center workers. Unfortunately, People think that the ruder and the more demanding and the more abusive that they are to call center workers, the more they get what they want. But I'm here to tell you that is not the case at all. It can work maybe one time out of 10, but have a heart, like have a conscience. Like there's someone else on the other line there that you're abusing to get, I don't know, your $3 administrative fee waived or to get your form processed ahead of everyone else. And the impact that you can have on that person, it's really cruel. It's abuse. People are really cracking down on it now. You're allowed to terminate phone calls if a person's being abusive. You can just terminate them. And there's even warnings now. Like I know that a lot of places say like you have to speak to us with courtesy or you don't speak to us at all, basically. But back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, even just like 10 years ago, you could get away with just swearing and abusing a call center worker. So people can be very antagonistic on the phone. The call center operator is only human. They're being abused by somebody and there's all like people around them as well. They're colleagues that you might want to save face in front of or that you just don't want to upset as well. You can't really say a whole lot back to them, but they can just terminate the phone calls these days. So just keep that in mind. The other thing that causes so much stress in that role is there's so many calls in queue. So when you call somebody on a call center and you have to wait in a line, it's not because they're out having a coffee, it's because they are talking to other customers, and the second that they are off that phone, there's a timer that's monitoring how long it takes for you to do your ACW, your after call work, which is to do everything that you needed to do on that phone call and then take another call. So the pressure is on, and every minute is accounted for when you're a call center worker. So when you have an office job and you want to go and have a quick chat to your mate and have a coffee or go to the water fountain and have a chat there, can't do that in a call center. When you're not taking a call, supervisors can see it. And once it hits to a certain limit, it could be 3 minutes, it could be 90 seconds, it could be 10 minutes maybe if it depends on the workplace. They are bopping up, standing up, or they are forcing a call through to you. So whether you're ready or not, you're taking another call. And that leads me to the point of not being allowed to go to the toilet. Now, if there are a lot of calls in queue, which is most of the times in call centers, unfortunately, if you need to go to the toilet, you need to go into break. So you need to go into breaks so that calls don't keep coming in. And if you're in the toilet for 4 minutes and then you come back to your desk and you do that twice in a day, that's 8 minutes. That's 8 minutes that you are probably going to get pulled up on. So you have to really go to the toilet in your 15-minute break, which is actually, you're supposed to be eating then, but you want to try and time it for then, or for your lunch break, or for your other 15-minute break, or before or after your shift. But it's so tough that like if you start your shift at 8 o'clock, you need to be logged in and ready to take a call at 8 o'clock. So you need to really get to your desk at say 7:50, log into all the equipment, go to the toilet, and then at 7:59 hit ready and a call will just drop straight through and it's game on. So it is really high paced, it's very stressful, it's quite confrontational, it's loud, it's a really tough job. Now, who would suit a call center job? Obviously someone who's really good with dealing with confrontation, somebody that's really calm, has a really calm voice, really friendly, somebody who can diffuse a heated situation, and someone that's really focused on customer quality, somebody that likes repetitive things because you're just saying the same thing over and over, doing the same thing over and over as well. And if we're going to break it down into the 5 major personality factors, In terms of what do you need to be extroverted, do you need to be introverted? I would say for that one, surprisingly, you could sit pretty much, it would suit an introverted person, I believe, because you don't have enough time to talk to your colleagues really, because you're just doing call after call. You don't have to face the public, like face to face. You just deal with them on the phone, which can be easier. It would work for an extroverted person because you get to laugh and joke, and you do get to have a laugh and a joke with customers on the phone, some customers. And then you do also get to sometimes bop your head up and say something to your colleague if they're not on taking a call. But I really think that an introverted person could succeed in this role. So, neuroticism. If you know if you're high or low on the scale of neuroticism, where would you need to sit to succeed in this role? I would say you'd really need to be low on the neuroticism scale. If you're already prone to anxiety, this job is going to kill you. If you're already fearful, this job is going to kill you. Same thing as anxiety, really. If you're like a bit on edge all the time, you'll just probably get upset easily when a customer is starting to get aggro with you. So you really want to be level-headed, you really want to be calm. You almost want to be neurotically calm. So I know that's like contradictory, but you know those people that, my theory is that they probably have been exposed to quite a bit of trauma in their life, and just parents who neglected. Are your emotional needs neglected, Freddie? No, never. Do you want to say hello on the camera? He's almost saying hello. He's so smart. I love you, baby. Let Mummy do her video and then we'll go for a WALK. Cannot say that word in front of him. Oh, what was I speaking about? Yeah, so, those people that are probably emotionally neglected, so they can seem to take a lot before they react. So that can be unhealthy. It can be a good coping mechanism. So if you're that way inclined, you could really suit call center work. But then if you have like a really monotone sort of voice, like it could work. People could think that you're bored or you don't care about their situation. So I would probably say you just really need to be very low on the neuroticism scale to succeed at this role. And I would also say that given the stresses and anxieties associated with this role, is that your neuroticism levels might actually increase. Now, your agreeableness for a call center role, you can't actually be too agreeable. You really can't. You obviously need to be assertive and friendly, but you can't be a pushover. And it's more so because a person might say to you, now I can get a loan for $300,000, can't I? And you'll be like, yes, you can, even though you know that they can't. So it's being able to say no. So you definitely can't be too agreeable, and you can't be too disagreeable either because of the high risk of confrontation and antagonism from the customers. The other thing that makes this job so stressful is the fact that you are being recorded. So every conversation that you have is being recorded. A lot of them are being assessed, and they can be quite harsh in their assessments. So if you just sort of slip up a couple of words, you can get penalized for that. Like, I actually found that I had anxiety just speaking, just in my normal everyday conversations with people, because I was just so waiting for a fight, like waiting to be abused, and also thinking that people were monitoring what I was saying, because that's what it was like at work. So that's another reason why it's just so difficult. But the recordings are also good to protect the call center operators for those really aggro customers too. And it's also good because a lot of customers like to say, No, I spoke to them and they said I could have all my administration fees waived, but then organisation can go back to the recording and see that that indeed never was said. Conscientiousness. So that would be, I would think that you could get away with being a little bit on the careless, lazy side, and I'm only comparing this to say the level of meticulousness that would be associated with being a doctor. So because those phone calls are being recorded, you have that to fall back on. Because the systems in place are usually so dependable, they make your job so much easier, they can often do a lot of the job for you. So you also don't have to memorize long spiels. I would say that you don't have to be that conscientious to succeed in a call center, but you do absolutely, after every call, you need to accurately type up your notes and talk about what was discussed. But the thing is, it becomes so everyday for you. It will be like, discussed account, told them the available balance, told them these options. It's just so second nature to you. Intellect. I would say to be a call center operator, your intellect, you wouldn't have to be a rocket scientist, obviously. And you could get away with being just like an average level of intelligence too. The main skills that would make you effective in this role would be your ability to stay calm and to work efficiently and to work accurately. But fortunately, the job is very repetitive, so easier to be accurate, but the difficulties are the stressful environment. So again, people that I think would really suffer in this career would be anyone that's on the neuroticism scale. If you have anxiety, this is not going to be a great job for you. But that's not to say that you couldn't do it. If you had a very high intellect, this job would probably bore you. And if you were on either of the extreme levels of agreeableness, so if you're extremely agreeable and then if you're extremely disagreeable, this is going to equal promises and trouble, because you're going to get in trouble at work, and this is going to equal conflict and you're going to get in trouble at work as well. And I just also want to mention the fact that I hope I've made it clear to you how tough the conditions are within this role, and the call center operators that are working in India, in the Philippines, in any other third world countries, they have, I'm guessing, much worse conditions than what Australians would do. So just cut them some slack. I know it's frustrating that sometimes you have to repeat yourself, their accents can be strong, but geez, like, I don't know many Australians that can even speak a second language. So I just think that we really need to throw them a bone there, really. Now, here is for the part on how to deal with a call center operator if you have to. I need some water. Now, there is a very common belief that if you abuse a call center operator, you'll get what you want. A lot of people believe that. Like, if you kick up a stink and you escalate and you're like, I want to speak to the manager, I want to speak to the King Chihuahua that's there, I'm going to get what I want by doing that. Just so cute. This little baby. Yeah, so that's what we wrongfully believe, because I can tell you, and I'm not proud of this and I'm not ashamed of this, but when customers would call and just straight up, instantly, you can just tell that they just want to have a fight, I would do the bare minimum. There were protocols in place that would protect me. So if somebody was demanding, I want my claim processed right now, I'm sorry ma'am, 3 to 5 business days, there's nothing you can do about it. And I was well within my rights to say that, and the company would back me up on that too, because you can't push people's claims ahead of other people these days. You just can't. And I would do the bare minimum, and I would honestly just would do everything I could to terminate that call as quickly as I could, because I didn't want to deal with this person for any longer. Now, same request, a nice person, not like an unctuous person. You don't have to be like sickening and be like servile or anything like that, but just a nice person. We can actually do things and sort of break the rules a little bit without any repercussions. An example might be a customer really needed to get a letter. They needed it that day. I'm well within my rights. Sorry, 2 to 3 working days. You can escalate that to my team leader. Too bad. They're the rules. But I can actually put you on hold, generate that letter in about 5 minutes flat, because I've done my job for a long time, so I can do it really quickly and get that to you. So that's an example of when you can do that, but there are exceptions to that. It doesn't matter how nice a person is. If the queues are backed up and it's, I don't know, you've called at 5:30 p.m. and we're finishing at 6, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. So you've just got to make sure that you don't call right on closing time, because what actually happens is we can't just disconnect all the calls. We've got to take them all, and we're going to be rushing through them because we want to go home because we're not getting paid. That's pretty fair and reasonable, that people don't want to be working there for free when they've just not even been allowed to go and use the toilet that day. And then there are times when, say, early on in my career, and when I was still learning, someone would call and ask something and I didn't understand, and I just said no. And I just said, no, it's not possible, and just pretty much terminated the call. But eventually I learned what they were referring to and was able to execute their requests, unusual requests. So what my point is, if you call and politely speak to a call center operator and they don't give you the answer that you need, the information that you need, the outcome that you need, do call back and politely speak to another consultant, because sometimes you may have just got a newbie that just didn't know. Then somebody with more experience will be like, oh, yep, I know exactly what you're referring to. Bam, bam, done. So they're my 2 tips. Is 1, don't try and pull this, I'm going to abuse you and get what I want that way. There's that saying, you get more honey with bees or more flies with honey. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. And do speak to different consultants, because you will get a different answer depending on which consultant that you speak to. And just a little advice to those call center workers, don't think that smoking is going to... Sometimes when we are constantly in fight or flight, which can happen in call center work, because you're kind of glued to your seat, can't really escape, all of those things, we start to neglect our emotional needs. And sometimes a symptom of neglecting our emotional needs is turning to cigarettes. There's a big association there. Cigarettes aren't going to meet those needs for you. They're actually just going to make you feel worse. And most call center workers on 50 to 70,000 a year, and if you're on around 70,000 a year, you're going to be doing shift work and night shifts. Cigarettes are a big hole in that paycheck. So just consider putting away the unhealthy food, putting away the cigarettes, because it may be the only thing that makes you feel better just in that moment and in that confined space. But if you start doing some exercise to just burn off that chemical response that you get to being in fight or flight, it's going to do a lot more for your health. It will also help you out with any musculoskeletal disorders that you can face. And try not to listen with music, because give those ears a break. And yeah, I know that my experience was a pretty negative experience. I definitely really struggled with all of the aggression and all of the noise. It was just something that I just couldn't deal with. But when we had options to work from home, I could do the job, no problems. And the customers were a delight. When you're in a better environment too. So definitely consider the call center work where you're allowed to work from home over working from an office, or if there's a hybrid role, because you do want to go into the office and see your friends too. And it can be great to just sort of have a laugh and a joke about some of the stuff that customers throw at you too. I hope that was informative, and I just really want everyone to treat call center operators with respect that they deserve to. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.